Okay, so I'm going to introduce Bharti here. She's going to explore the prevalence of heart disease among South Asians, particularly our Sindhi community. We possess lifestyle factors and genetic inheritance that makes us highly prone to major risks. While South Asians in general are predisposed to heart disease, specific Sindhi lifestyle tendencies exacerbate the effect. She's going to teach us how to beat the epidemic with advice regarding nutrition, fitness, and early prevention. Bharti is a practicing physician assistant in cardiac surgery at Stanford University Medical Center. And in addition to assisting cardiac surgeons in the operating room in surgeries, such as coronary artery bypass, she also provides education and awareness for surgical patients, both preoperatively and postoperatively. So without further ado, Bharti.
Thank you. You guys everybody hear me okay? Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you so much for the lovely introduction. My name is Bharti Daswani. I am a physician assistant. I work at Stanford Hospital and Clinics in Stanford, California. So I've come all the way from Cali to enjoy the good Boston weather. So woohoo! I have been, a little bit about myself, I've been in practice as a cardiac surgery PA for about 6 years now, and I really love my job. Some of my duties as a cardiac surgery PA include working in the operating room besides cardiac surgeons, helping them during the coronary bypass procedures. So while the surgeons are up at the chest, I'm down at the leg removing the vein that's required to do these bypass procedures. So I really love what I do in the operating room. Not only do I get to do fun stuff like that, it's fun for me, and probably not fun for the patient, but I really enjoy taking care of patients out on the wards as well. What I do is provide postoperative care and provide some education and teaching before our patients go home. So a lot of my work is also, not only is it doing surgeries and helping surgeons, it's also providing that education for our patients. And this is heart disease. I think it's a topic that I'm really passionate about. Not only because it's something that's prevalent in our Sindhi community, it's prevalent across our South Asian community as well. And it's something that sort of hits home for me, and it's one of the reasons why I actually went into cardiac surgery as a PA, is because of bad family history. So I'm hoping to share some of my knowledge with you today. I'm really excited to share that. I'm really honored that YSA have given me this opportunity to do so. And I hope that if anything, if you guys learn some early prevention strategies, I think it begins in our age, in our 20s and 30s. So if we can start, utilizing some good tips now on, we can be assured that we can lead long, healthy lives and heart-healthy lives. So our agenda for today actually is going to be talking a little bit about the problems, the statistics and prevalence of heart disease in our community, and talking about some risk factors, what are changeable risk factors and what are not. And then we'll talk about ways to solve the problem through diet and fitness modification. And then we'll sum it up with some early prevention strategies. I also do promise to have 3 quizzes at the end, and they come with some rewards. You get a $5 gift card to Starbucks, so you get some incentive to answering questions, so pay attention, okay? All right. So when I talk about statistics and prevalence, go ahead, next slide. So when I was gathering my talk together, I actually went through and all my research that I got about heart disease in our community is through this book written by Dr. Enas. It's called How to Beat the Heart Disease Epidemic Among South Asians. Dr. Enas is an Indian cardiologist who has been a forefather in pioneering some of the studies that have been done on not only on Indian South Asians as a community. There's other data such as the Framingham data, which is based on the famous Framingham, Massachusetts data that looks at heart disease, the prevalence of heart disease amongst the Caucasian and other, I think in those studies, there have been very little representation from the South Asian community. And Dr. Enas has actually done some really good studies on focusing just on our community. And I factor some of these into this because we all are Indian too. So getting to the heart of the matter, no pun intended. So the statistics and prevalence of heart disease in our South Asian community is that there is what the studies that were done was a landmark study called the CADI trial, C-A-D-I. It's called Coronary Artery Disease in Indians. So this is the first trial that was done that looked at heart disease in South Asians. And these are the following stats that were found from that study. So So in general, there was a 2 to 4 times higher rate of heart disease that's found in our population when you compare us to everybody else across the board. And why that's so? Because there's been found to be increased number of patients that have abdominal obesity, so that's increased weight around the midline, so-called the apple shape. You guys may have heard about that. There's also high levels of insulin resistance. What that means is that your insulin basically is pumping out more and more. Your body's unable to utilize insulin ineffectively, so as a result, the pancreas keeps putting out more and more insulin, and there's high levels of insulin and glucose circulating in the bloodstream. And one of the insulin's jobs is to actually transport the glucose back into the cells where it belongs. So that's been found in our, that's what we have in our genes. And add to that, if you take abdominal obesity, if you take insulin resistance, you also get a higher number of people who have metabolic syndrome. This is kind of like patients who have like the pre-diabetes picture. They may have like one or more risk factors, but they're not really formally diagnosed as a diabetic, but sort of are on their way to being diagnosed as a diabetic or with someone with, so they've found like higher levels of heart disease in that population too. Something that this trial found was that there was a high rate of coronary artery disease that was found regardless of religion, gender, like male versus female. So even though like heart disease is actually a silent killer in women postmenopausal, the estrogen premenopause actually protects us from developing heart disease prematurely. But if you're an Indian, or if you're Sindhi, if you're a female, you're just basically screwed. Sort of. I hate to say it, ladies, but you know, it's just something that's against us. But I'll talk about positive ways as to how to fight that. So stay tuned. And there was high levels of highest rate, even regardless of socioeconomic background. So what that looked into was finding like high rates of heart disease amongst people who are educated. Now, everybody in this room, at least holds a bachelor's degree. You know, we are well educated. Our generation is much more well educated than our forefathers and our grandparents. But still, there is a high rate of heart disease. Now, why that's exactly so, we don't know. We possess some really inflammatory markers that were more predisposed to developing heart disease. And I think as more and more studies are done, we'll be able to find out exactly why and how to control it, or even be very aggressive about treating heart disease, even before any signs or symptoms. So this last piece I thought was interesting is that there is a 4 times higher rate of heart disease in India today. No surprise there, that's the largest population of Indians here in the world. And what there is there's a doubled rate in rural areas and a 3-fold rate in urban areas. That is a big number, guys. So I think what that sort of accounts for is that the westernization coming to India, like the McDonald's and the Burger Kings and the Kentucky Fried Chickens of the world, of America, is coming to India, and many people want to go out and eat because they think it's novel, they think it's cool, Add to that, the boom that's occurring in India nowadays with the middle class making more and more money, and I think many people have so much money they don't know what to do with, so they're spending it, going out, just sort of, following the American lifestyle. I know that when my husband and I, we traveled to India just a year and a half ago, our family members were like, oh, we can take you to McDonald's. They have this paneer tikka wrap. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, thanks, but I prefer Sai Bhaji. For them it's this new thing, but for us, we know it's already clogger and it's just unhealthy. And I think it's time that we made a change. So ongoing with this study, what I thought was interesting, what was found is a similar rate of heart disease between vegetarians and non-vegetarians. Now, you figure why so? Vegetarians eat fruits and vegetables. Yeah, it's a pretty healthy diet, but look at the way it's prepared. Things eat like pakoras, vegetable pakoras. What are they? They're fried. If you look at the way that the food is prepared, it's a cream-based sauce, there's curries, all of that sort of adds to the unhealthiness. And also, many people I know, vegetarians eat some kind of bhaji with a roti or chapati or fulko, right? So if you make that fulko from refined carbs, Refined carbs are something that the wheat itself has been stripped of its the wheat germs has been stripped of its nutrients. As a process, it's been bleached, so basically it's been stripped of anything that's nutritious for you, and that's why it's bleached, because it's bleached white. And if you make it with white flour, then you're basically eating like there's no source of calories or no source of nutrients, essentially, it's empty calories. So that's why there was a similar rate between vegetarians and non-vegetarian. Obviously, with the non-vegetarians, there's higher rates of meat intake and eggs and dairy. So those are high sources of high cholesterol. So this point over here, this bullet here, I thought was really important, and this is something I want to spend some time on. Is that when in our community, when heart disease appears, it often appears early, meaning less than 45 years of age. 45. That's scary. That is in about 20 years for me. This is just something that's been found. And when it does occur, it occurs hard, meaning that there's usually it's severe coronary artery disease, patients have been diagnosed with a triple vessel heart disease and have to undergo emergency surgery for it. Oftentimes they're also fatal, they may die from it, and there's extensive damage that's done to the heart muscle that patients cannot be revived. And it occurs unexpectedly. So either occurs without symptoms, like in women, it's silent killer, or if it occurs just with someone with basically with no traditional one or two risk factors, but not really a lot of risk factors to account for it. And a good example that fits into this early, hard, and unexpected rule is actually my own mother. When my mom, when I was in PA school, learning to become a PA, I had just started school and I was in the clinical part of my training. And I got a phone call one day, and I said, my mom was on the phone, and my dad said, we're going to take mom to the hospital. I said, what's going on? Is mom okay? So my mom, she was having some crushing chest pain, and my dad was really worried. He called 911. They took her to the hospital, and they did an emergency coronary angiogram, and she was found to have severe triple vessel heart disease, and had to undergo emergency surgery that same night. So luckily she was a little bit close by that I could travel there and be with her. And I listened, from the surgeons, and they said we have to do this on your mom. She was at the time when she was diagnosed with this, she was 45. So this young, less than 45 is real. I can attest for that. And I'm sure if I ask you all, I'm sure you probably would know somebody that falls into that age range. And so, luckily at that time, she didn't suffer extensive damage to her heart muscle. She didn't have a heart attack. So they were able to do a triple vessel bypass surgery, and she survived and she did well. And nowadays, she's had to make a lot of diet and a lot of modifications to her fitness. I'm always on her back to make sure she eats right and she's exercising. But when you're older, it's really hard to break some habits. Some old habits die hard. So, it was just something that I felt, it was actually one of the reasons why I actually did go into heart surgery was because of her, because I wanted to help other patients, survive, and, I saw how the surgeons helped my mom, but I also wanted to help my patients alongside with educating them and having them prevent them from having future events. So, and heart attack occurs about 10 years earlier than other populations, other age groups. And when the less than 45 age group is diagnosed, there is a higher risk than similar age groups in other populations. So if you're a young, 45-year-old Sindhi male, your risk of developing heart disease is actually higher than someone who's a 45-year-old African American male. So this is very, very, very important to keep in mind. And 1/3 of all heart attacks actually occur in those less than 45. Now, why that's so with why such aggressive development of heart disease, I think we still need to do ongoing studies, and we still need to, Dr. Enos has also definitely has been sort of pioneering some of these studies, and hopefully over the years we'll sort of understand why this is so. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about like what we can do in terms of risk factors and how to change. Yeah. So since smoking is one of the risk factors, here's a physician actually advising his patient to quit smoking, but instead of wearing the nicotine patch on the shoulder, he wants to wear it over his mouth. That's the source of the bad habit. So when we talk about risk factors, there are some risk factors that we can change and we cannot change. The ones we cannot change are our age. We can't change how old we get, or I wish there was a way to reverse that. I'd be a millionaire. We can't change our gender. Well, I guess in today's day and age you probably can, but I'll save that for another talk. Obviously, we can't change our genes, our family history of early heart attack or death, and we can't change our ethnicity. And I am proud to say I'm Sindhi, so I don't want to change that for the world, but I definitely will take all the steps that I need to keep myself heart healthy and live a long, healthy life. So that's my little piece on that. And so the good news is there's a lot of risk factors that we actually can change. So we can change our cholesterol. If you have high cholesterol, there's ways to treat that with medications or with diet and exercise modifications. If you're a smoker, you definitely can stop smoking, and that won't reverse your rate of developing heart disease, but it can lower your risk. Because there's already some damage done, depends on how long you've been smoking and all that, so we take that into consideration. And diabetes actually tends to be very, very common in Sindhis because of the abdominal obesity and the insulin resistance, like the metabolic syndrome that we talked about earlier. That tends to be very, very common amongst our population specifically. The rates of definitely high blood pressure, if you're diagnosed with hypertension, controlling your blood pressure, keeping your blood pressures is under control is definitely imperative. And abdominal obesity, which I mentioned, is also common in our population. And so the abdominal obesity and diabetes tend to go hand in hand. And stress and depression play a role as a risk factor. And obviously lack of healthy diet and exercise will definitely, you're definitely a sitting duck for developing heart disease if you're, don't incorporate some level of healthy eating and exercising in your life. And excessive alcohol, okay, we all love our Johnny Walker or beer or whatever have you, but everything in moderation, and some amounts of alcohol, and I'll talk about specific types of alcohol, can be good for you, so we'll sort of cover that a little later. But yeah, those are the ways to change it. And so I want to talk a little bit about diabetes. What I think is important is to keep this equation in mind. So if you take abdominal obesity, the weight around the midline, like the apple shape or so, add to that a sedentary lifestyle, and then add to that our diet, which is primarily overconsumption of white rice, white flour, sugar, and refined carbs. Remember, the refined carbs is anything that's been stripped of its nutrient in the processing and has been bleached to turn the white color. So you get an increased risk of diabetes and accelerated heart disease. So even though diabetes itself directly does not cause heart disease, but if you keep your blood sugars if your blood sugars are not well controlled, the diabetics tend to have higher levels of triglycerides and low HDL. That's the good cholesterol. HDL is a good cholesterol. LDL is a low density lipoprotein, which is a bad cholesterol. You may have sort of heard about that. And the triglycerides are also, what happens is that when you intake too much carbs, and if you don't, so some level of carbs is actually good for you, they're good for the cells, and if you do take too much of carbs in, all that carbs sort of stays around and then gets turned into triglycerides as a result. And then if you have high levels of triglycerides, that also, contributes to having, and if you're diabetic, then it contributes to having a higher heart disease. And in our population, okay, go to the next slide, diabetes tends to develop 10 to 15 years earlier and at a lower body weight, so we don't necessarily need to be massively obese in order to be diagnosed with diabetes. And like I mentioned before, there's also a 2 to 4 times risk of having and dying from a heart attack. And complications are much more common and dangerous in women greater than men. Again, so if you're a Sindhi woman, you're around the 45 age, postmenopausal, you're diabetic, that's just, it's very, very concerning, and especially with the family history. So this is why this is so important to change habits now. And same thing patients do do have heart disease, do have diabetes and have to have some procedure done too. And if they have heart disease and have to have some procedure done, oftentimes, depending on the severity of the heart disease, surgery or like a stent procedure can only do so much. Surgery and stents, all these are not the cure itself either. You know, it's the ongoing changing of the mind over the matter, like changing your habits mentally, and you know, incorporating that will also definitely help lower your, at least increase your, survival and success rate. So, I've had some patients that really had maybe one risk factor with, have to be, have to undergo triple vessel heart disease, triple vessel bypass, and after surgery, I see them and they did actually, they did well. They were able to go home and they were able to recuperate and get back to, living healthy. And for some people, it's a wake-up call. They sort of wake up and they're like, I'm going to change my life from now on. But it shouldn't take a surgery to really change that. What I think are I've listed some heart-healthy foods on the slide, and which is, if you look up, if you Google, heart-healthy foods, you may get a list of something that may look something like this. So foods that are high in monounsaturated fats. Monounsaturated fats are actually good because they're a good source of fatty acids that are actually responsible for lowering your bad cholesterol and increasing your good cholesterol. So you want to eat something like that because the good cholesterol protects you from developing heart disease. So there's components of heart disease include not just cholesterol deposition, but also there's an inflammatory component as well that's involved. And with the monounsaturated fats, you lower the chance that the bad cholesterol will deposit in your coronary arteries. So olive oil is a great source of this sort of fat, and so is avocado. So those of you who are from California, avocados are sold at Safeway, so those are really good. I love avocado. So nuts are really good because they're good in the omega-3 fatty acids. They have specifically almonds, sesame and pumpkin seeds are a good source. Again, they're responsible for. They may also increase your high cholesterol, but they definitely are heart healthy. Beans are really good because they have a lot of protein. They have some fatty acids as well, especially kidney beans, garbanzo beans, chole, dal, lentils, kala chana. Those are really good because fiber is also good with. Not only does it keep you regular, it also is what it does is actually bind up the bad cholesterol and actually is soluble, so you'll pass it away, so it'll lower your cholesterol that way, and you'll lose weight too. Fiber is good for weight loss as well. And whole grains are really good because they have antioxidants. So the whole grain is anything, the whole part of the germ is there. So whole wheat bread, or the bread, say whole grain flour, or whole grain tortilla. That has retained its nutrients and has not been bleached, so you're getting the antioxidants. And what antioxidants are, they are molecules that are responsible for eliminating toxins from your body, and they're they protect not only against heart disease, but other inflammatory states like cancer, so it's really good for not just heart disease alone. Plus they're also responsible for creating great skin, so that's an added bonus. So good intake of antioxidants will help you a lot in many ways than one. And fish is a really good heart-healthy food. I love sushi, and I can't eat enough of it. But I think a couple meals of fish a week, as long as it's not fried, is really good for you. And these are the types of fish that I think are more, especially salmon has high levels of fatty acids, omega-3 fatty acids. You guys may have heard about this, and that's really good to incorporate in your diet. And obviously fruits and vegetables are really good for you. The green leafy kind are good because of the antioxidants, high antioxidant source. And tea counts. Green tea has the most level of antioxidants. Does chai count? Yes and no, because it does have some antioxidant component, but the milk sort of eliminates that. So that's why if you drink black tea on its own, that also has a number of antioxidants, but green tea sort of takes the cake when you're looking at tea. So if I were to go for the bang for the buck, I'd choose green tea. And I put red wine on here because it's also a great source of antioxidants. The red grape itself has a lot higher source of antioxidants, so that's why red wine is good. Now, do you need to drink the entire bottle in order to get the effects? Probably not. So here's my good rule of thumb. It's like 1 glass a day for women and 2 glasses a day for men. Now, there have been studies that have been done that show like even like 1 to 2 glasses a week provide the same benefit. So don't go crazy, okay? And one thing I didn't put up on here because I didn't want to condone this, but dark chocolate also has antioxidants. But woo! So ladies, you know, when you're getting a gift from your boyfriends, ask for dark chocolate, especially the kind that has 70% dark chocolate. That's the best. It's bitter, but it's really good for you. But you don't eat the whole thing though. 1 little piece. That's all you need, and you'll get the benefits. Okay. Now, so now we've talked a little bit about like what are the heart healthy foods. Now, how do we incorporate some changes? So I made up this slide. Like I sort of went through and I was thinking, going through my own cooking, like how do I like change, you know, how do I change my cooking tendencies, or when I go out to dine, how do I change it so that I'm eating something healthy for myself? So instead of using like ghee, like butter or coconut oil in your cooking, like choose like olive oil, canola oil, or like Benecol. Benecol is actually a plant-based bread. Oh, back one. Okay. It's a plant-based bread. It's actually it tastes like a buttery spread, but it's really good because it actually it increases your high cholesterol, so it's beneficial for you. So instead of using like white rice, like choose like brown rice or couscous. You know, you can make like good a meal out of that, and it'll be really filling because it'll keep you full too. That's also one good thing of fiber. It keeps you full for a longer time, so you don't need to eat a lot of food. So if you choose foods with high fiber content, you'll feel fuller longer, and you'll lose weight as a result. So instead of using like white bread, eating white bread or English muffins, go for whole wheat pasta. Also same thing with like whole milk. Instead of the whole milk, choose like the soy or fat-free, skim, or 1% varieties. When dining out, like if you're looking at the menu and stuff says like fried, obviously no, big no-no. Even if it says pan fried, it's actually, they use a lot of oil. And if the preparation says saute, you know that there's a fair amount of oil being used. And instead, like choose like tandoori or like tikka meat, especially like in the Indian restaurants. And instead of using like cream-based curries, go for like dry roasted or baked, grilled, broiled, or steamed preparations of food, and you'll probably be okay, and you'll get the nutrients. And instead of eating like cakes, cookies, donuts, and brownies, fruits are always a good dessert. It's nature's best dessert. And popcorn, actually, surprisingly, popcorn makes it up there because popcorn is made from the seed, so it's definitely healthy, but minus the butter. And with regards to red meat, I think Sindhis in general, like most people in our community, don't tend to eat a lot of red meat, but we do tend to eat like more amounts of lamb. But if you eat like lamb or like beef, try switching over to definitely switch over to fish or leaner cuts of poultry or turkey. So we're at YSA. And we can't forget our Sindhi culture, so I sort of looked at my own, this is like my own contribution to like what I think is what is heart healthy for me. So definitely sai bhaji makes it up there. It's one of my favorites, one of Neil's favorites, and it's good because it has protein in it. The spinach definitely provides the antioxidant effect, and it's definitely nutritious. And dal, but without the pakwan. The pakwan is fried, or any kind of puri. So dal is good, another good source of protein and fiber. Sail mani, sail fish. So this is like mani or fish that's cooked in like a coriander sauce, like a chutney sauce. And as long as you use like whole wheat mani, it ends up being a very nutritious meal. Rajma, I put up on there, which is kidney beans, another good source of proteins and fiber. And Sindhi curry, which not the besan kind, but the tomato-based kind, which is more the shikar style, has actually really good because the tomatoes in it have lycopene, which is a good source of antioxidants as well. And I put wangar jo barto, which is eggplant barta or like Bangan Bharta. Again, the vegetables are bangan is really good. And eating koki, like whole wheat koki and dud, like with fat-free dud, is definitely healthy. And using like lean turkey meat when you're making keema, that's also a way to change things. So it's not that hard to actually incorporate these changes. Like when I look at a recipe, when I'm cooking dinner, like I'll look at how to like cut back or how to like change some of the ingredients so that it becomes more healthy. And it's actually not that hard. So it just takes some, I guess it just takes some knowledge and just doing it enough to recognize what's unhealthy and what's not. So now that we've talked a lot about eating, because we love to eat as a culture and we're focused always around food, right? So we need to talk a little bit about exercise. So Vijay did a great job this morning with teaching us how to bust our gut. I hope you guys all did it out there. Here's a doctor. So if you guys think that you don't have time to exercise, think again. So here's a doctor advising his patient saying, what fits your busy schedule better? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day? I think you know what choice to make. So when I think about exercise, especially like exercise that's going to be heart healthy or like mitigate your risk of heart disease, I sort of tend to break it up in two components. So one is like the cardiovascular component of exercise, which is like the aerobic part, which is utilizes oxygen directly, and the other part is strength training, which is like building muscle. So that's anaerobic exercise. You still utilize oxygen, but indirectly. So examples of cardiovascular exercise, anything that gets your heart rate up. I mean, kickboxing, hiking, walking, running, swimming, any sport, whatever you like to do. And the Nintendo Wii does not count, okay? So, yeah. I haven't tried the Wii Fit, but I don't know. I'd be a little skeptical. I don't think it probably would provide as much benefit. And when I think of strength training, it's like anything that incorporates like free weights, machines, or like resistance bands into your workout. Something where you're developing muscle. So why this is good is because if you're thinking about weight loss, it's good to incorporate cardiovascular and strength training into your workout, because that way you'll get the most benefits. Not only will you become toned and lose weight, like you'll look good. So, and the muscles actually, building muscles is important. You don't need to bulk up, ladies, but at least like if you do some kind of resistance exercise, you'll actually be challenging your muscles, and you actually burn more fat that way, because as you build muscle, the way the muscles regain they rebuild their fibers is actually by burning fat. So they utilize fat as a fuel source. So that's really important. And when you're thinking about, okay, so how much should I be doing with the exercise and all this stuff? So with regards to cardiovascular exercise, think the acronym FIT. So frequency stands for like how often you do the exercise. Intensity stands for how rigorously you do it. And time obviously refers to how long you do it. So with regards to cardiovascular exercise, at least, good rule of thumb is at least, 5 to 7 days a week for about, you should be exercising at a pace where you feel like it's hard to carry on a conversation. Like you can carry on a conversation, but it's like really tough. So that's sort of like you obviously should be achieving your target heart rate. That's a little bit technical, but a non-technical way of judging how vigorously you're doing your exercise is by saying, if you can carry on a conversation, but you're finding it difficult to complete your sentences, you know that you're at a good pace. And with time, I would say 60 to 90 minutes a day is really good. And with regards to weight training, I think 8 to 12 reps, 1 to 2 sets, alternating between 2 to 3 days a week is really good for, you don't need to be doing it every day necessarily, because your body needs to build, needs a break in between. So you should be alternating cardiovascular and strength training. So on the days when you do your running, so the next day you should be at the gym, working on the weights. So, okay. So now that we've talked all about, the statistics and prevalence of heart disease, we talked about risk factors, we talked about diet, we talked about how to change fitness around. Some of the key, I think some of the key early prevention strategies are, if you haven't already done so, get your cholesterol checked. Know where you stand. Know what your numbers are. And if you don't know what they mean, ask your doctor or ask a PA. That's why we're here, to help you guide and help you understand. And make sure, say if you are diagnosed with high heart hypertension or cholesterol, see a doctor regularly for checkups and make sure that you know that you're being treated and things are going appropriately. Like, don't just like lose follow-up. We have some patients that we do surgery and they like never come to their post-operative appointment, and I sort of find that concerning. It's like, hello, you had a big surgery done. Like, don't you want to like see your surgeon and see, like, make sure that like you're doing okay? Like that sort of makes you think it's common sense, but many people are like, oh, I'm fixed, I'm okay, I don't need to go back. So keep that relationship ongoing. If you don't like fish particularly, like if you don't like the taste of fish, or if you're vegetarian, a good alternative is to take like fish oil supplements. These are available in tablet form. Typically, 1 gram a day is pretty good in terms of providing substantial benefits. And if you don't like fruits or vegetables, taking a multivitamin day also is okay. But I would recommend intake of the natural, source of these two supplements. So if you take it in naturally, you probably will get most benefit. And eliminate smoking, lose weight and limit your alcohol intake. Incorporate a healthy diet, which is high in fiber, low in fat, high in protein. Incorporate 1 to 2 fish meals a week, and incorporate whole grains into your diet, and eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and drink lots of water too. Water is really good for eliminating toxins, flushing out toxins from your body. And make sure you work out regularly too. So, with incorporating cardio and strength training into your exercise. All right, so now that I've sort of gone through and given you like an overview of everything, I think it's time to test your knowledge and see how much you guys have been paying attention. So I'm gonna ask you three questions, and you guys will get, if you guys get the right answer, the prize that you get is a $5 Starbucks gift card. So it's a nice, sweet deal. So don't be shy to raise your hand, okay? All right, next slide. Okay, quiz number 1. 1/3 of all heart attacks occur in people, A, less than 45, B, 46 to 65, or C, 66 and above. Please raise your hands. A, that's right. Good job. Give him a round of applause. Congrats. Wow, you guys have been really paying attention. Wow, that's great. Okay. All right, that's correct, less than 45, so that's the magic number. Okay, quiz number 2. All of these are refined foods except, go ahead, A, cakes, B, pizza, C, donuts, D, muffins, or E, popcorn. You with the glasses. That's right. Wow, I thought I'd have to sit here and like fight between the gift cards to you. Great job. Yes, E is right. That's right. Popcorn is healthy. Okay. Last but not the least, all of these are benefits of exercise except, number 1, lose weight. B, increase stress. C, increase good cholesterol. Oh my God, you guys have your hands up already. Or D, strengthens heart muscle. Or E, lower blood pressure. You over there, you look like you're dying to raise your hand. You're in the yellow. I'm sorry? B. B, yes, you're right. Do you know why? Do you know why? You in the red. Give her a gift card. Wait, did you answer the question? Did you answer why it increases stress? No, you have to increase. Yeah, why does it increase stress? It releases endorphins. That's right. Give her a round of applause. She gets a gift card. Good job. That's right. You're a pharmacist, by the way. You guys did great. I'm proud of you guys. Awesome. Okay, so. I'll end here. Actually, before I end, I actually want to, this picture was actually taken at last year on May the 9th, is it correct? I can't believe I forgot the date. This is actually me and Neil at our first half marathon. Prior to actually doing this, we actually did a half marathon with Team in Training. It's an organization that helps fight Leukemia and Lymphoma Society by training people who don't know how to run, run in marathons and participate. So prior to participating in this, both Neil and I never really ran that much. We'd run maybe 1 or 2 miles 3 times a week, but really we needed a lot of discipline, and sometimes we found it really hard to exercise. And we sort of found out about this organization. We said, what a great way to get involved and to help and give back to the community. But at the same time, we both got a chance to really test out our patience and our determination. It took a lot of time and a lot of effort to training into this. And I think we were just so supported by this Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. They're a great organization. They provide a lot of support and resource, and they're just so positive, and they're out there with you, training with you. And I found it such a great experience that I can't express how much I'm indebted to them, that I was actually so happy that I was able to run my first half marathon. So I ran 13.2 miles, going from running 1 or 2 miles. And all that credit, I could not have done that without Neil. So Neil's my partner in crime. Hi, Neil. And and actually it goes on to show, last October we did our second half marathon. So I hope to keep running more marathons. I hope Neil will keep running them with me. And I encourage you guys to get out there, get involved, and at the same time make a change and give back to your community. So with that, I'd like to wish you all a great retreat. Have fun. I can't wait to party with you and dance with you on the dance floor. And I wish you a great, happy, healthy, heart-healthy 2008. Thank you very much.